I never said that I didn't commit the offense. I know what I did was very wrong. I know what I did. I know what I did.
So what did you do?
I took a gun and I was aiming it at my ex-boyfriend and his child. His child was present. And I was almost I didn't know how to use it and it didn't go off.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a Connecticut woman who has a real difficult time with telling the truth. And I think the parole board does a stellar job at getting it out. Let's jump in and watch it, and I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Eeliyah P 444-741.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Eeliyah P inmate number 444-741. She is serving a sentence of 6 years suspended after 30 months with 5 years probation for assault third, failure to appear second, risk of injury, violation of protected order, and carrying a pistol without a permit. As of today, record reflect parole eligibility date of September 22nd, 2024. There is no victim input in the case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender has been reviewed, shows that she has completed anger management beyond violence. Utilizing the Women's Risk Needs Assessment, one of the offender's overall score for recidivity falls within the low range. Mr. Prophet, this is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Yes, I have wrote a letter. Is it okay if I read it?
Yes, please, go ahead, get started.
Okay. Good morning, and thank you for providing me the opportunity to meet with you and for taking your time to listen. This is the first time I have put myself in a situation not only affected my freedom, but also hurt my friends and family. Most importantly, the victims affected by my crime. Upon my arrival, I realized how quick I was to react to situations and was very impulsive. The time I have spent here has made me become more patient and less impulsive and realize for every action, there is a reaction. I have gotten one ticket trying to reach out and apologize to my victim, but realized that was set in place for a reason and endure the consequences that came with it. I realized the effect I had on my victim and his child that was present. I wish I could take it back what happened, but we know that it's not possible. So instead of forgetting about it, it will always be a reminder of what I don't want to happen again moving forward. While being here, I completed Beyond Violence and Anger Management. I worked at commissary for several months. I also attended several help groups for trauma and emotional therapy. If bring to parole, I plan on starting work with the help of my family and attending a therapist as soon as I am released. I know the time I have spent here has helped me grow as a person and made me focus on what I want out of life. Thank you for taking the opportunity to listen, and I can assure you that if granted parole, I will complete this with no issues.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Prophet, for preparing a statement for us. We're going to take turns asking you questions based on the documents that were available to us. Then we will discuss your case, and you'll have your decision this morning. We're going to begin questions with my colleague, Ms. Chance.
Okay, so Ms. Prophet, thank you for writing out your statement. Appreciate the time to put into it. So I first wanted to ask, in your opening comment, you stated that this is the first time that you put yourself in this situation.
Yes, ma'am.
But I want to ask you, did you understand what the violation of protective order meant when you were placed on it or against?
Yes, ma'am. So I do understand that, but unfortunately, I was just caught up in a situation where I thought people can change, a person can change, and thinking things will work out when I should have just listened to the plan that was set in place.
But the fact of the matter is that is an order through the court,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So why did you think that you could disobey what the court instructed you not to do?
Just, I I was just being hard-headed and wanted to do things my own way and not trying to follow orders.
So what were you doing with a gun?
It wasn't my gun, but it was in an area that I was in, and I was in fear for my life. I was in his car, and prior to the situation, he was beating on me, so I was scared for my own life. So I grabbed it out of his car, and it was there. It was not my gun. I don't have any weapons. I never been around
Ms.
a gun.
Prophet, I asked you what you were doing with the gun. I didn't ask you who the gun belonged to. The fact of the matter is that you had the gun, and now you're saying that you took it out of someone's car.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you gonna do with it?
In that situation, I was really nervous, and I was really scared for my life, and I was just trying to.
Ms. Prophet,
Yes.
let me remind you that we have the police reports for this incident. So we've
Yes.
read the details. So
Yes,
you
I
need to be
understand.
accurate and
I am.
forthcoming in the
I
hearing.
am, ma'am. I am. What happens in the situation, we were,
And say something before you go on.
excuse
When
me?
you said you were in fear for your life
Yes,
and that
ma'am.
you feared that he was hitting you or doing something to you, the police report indicated that they did not observe anything that was wrong with you. There were no harm.
In my case, they seen that I had bruises, I had black eyes. I presented all of that to the court. My lawyer did.
Okay, keep going.
I presented all of that evidence to the court. I was in fear for my life, and I was trying to get away, but he kept coming towards me.
And so what did you do?
I made a decision that was not, I should have never done.
Okay, you shouldn't have done what?
I should have never pulled the gun out and pointed it at him and his son. I should have never done that at all.
Did you know the gun was loaded?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you know how to use the gun?
No, ma'am, I don't.
So you didn't know how to use the gun, but you took it up.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did the person have a weapon or something else that made you afraid?
Yes, ma'am, he also had one as well.
He had a gun?
As well, yes, ma'am.
I don't know, there's some difference of opinion in terms of what you're saying that so what kind of mood were you in? Do you think you were under the influence or something else was going on with you?
I was triggered because, like I stated before, he was very abusive to me. So I was in fear.
So my question is, were you under the influence?
We had a few drinks. We were at a family cookout. Yes, I was drinking.
And so do you think you had a little bit too much alcohol?
No, I don't believe so, because it was just, I didn't go overboard. We didn't have a lot of drinks, no.
So I'm gonna tell you what police said. He said he smelled a strong odor of alcohol coming from your breath.
Yes, ma'am. Like I just said, we were at a family event and we were drinking, yes. But I don't think that I had a lot.
You know, Ms. Barrett, you're before us, asking us to consider granting you discretionary parole, and you haven't been honest. First of all, you denied committing the offense, and you're trying to blame it on
No,
the
ma'am.
victim. So do you think you're being honest today?
I'm trying my hardest to be honest with you. Yes, I do believe that I'm being honest.
Because the problem is, if you are not honest, you take the programs, and I don't know if what you've gained from the program has any meaning to you if you don't acknowledge the behavior that you're addressing.
Yes, I understand.
So what do you think are the behaviors that you're addressing? Because you said that, you know, you completed beyond violence and anger management.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what was it that helped you in beyond violence if you're saying you didn't commit the offense?
I never said that I didn't commit the offense. I know what I did was very wrong. I know what I did. I know what I did.
So
I'm
what
not
did
saying-
you do?
I took a gun and I was aiming it at my ex-boyfriend and his child. His child was present. And I was almost I didn't know how to use it and it didn't go off.
And were you under the influence of alcohol?
Yes, ma'am, I had a few drinks. I had a few drinks. I stated that we were at a family cookout and we were drinking, yes.
Okay. So what did you learn from the incident?
But I learned that I should have never even been involved with the individual set from when the protective order was in place. I should have stayed away.
Okay, so that's one. What's the other?
That I should have never reacted and I should have just, I should have never reacted and I should have learned to walk away and not be involved.
And so you went to a family event and you drank, knowing that you had to. Were you driving back home? Were you
No,
going
yeah.
to drive back home?
I wasn't driving. It was the other individual driving.
Okay, so you were with someone, and so you had too much to drink, and the situation just blew out of control.
Oh, yes.
So how would you handle that situation next time?
Formal, I wouldn't put myself in a situation like that anymore because being in here and being in the groups, I learned who to surround myself with, changing my people, places, and things that I'm around. I learned that I'm not going to put myself in situations like that anymore.
So one of the things that you have to learn, Ms. Sprock, is that number one, when the court set rules,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have to obey them. And when you have a parole or a probation officer, you have to follow the rules and guidelines that are established.
Yes, ma'am.
That's kind of what I wanted you to hear. And also, according to the PSI, when the police interviewed you, he did say that you smelled of alcohol. So by being under the influence of alcohol, you were not able to follow rules or act appropriately. And instead, you had a loaded gun and there was a child present. So you see why you ended up with all these charges?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know what your charges are?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
Possession of a firearm, risk injury to a minor, and violation of protective order.
And I saw a third.
Yes.
So, is it your sister that you said have your apartment, is taking care of your apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are you going to do about a job?
So as of now, I'm still a CNA. So my old job, they're willing to let me come back and work with them as long as I bring an updated physical. I'm able to start work immediately.
So the last thing that I want to just go over with you. So I read during the interview that you denied committing the offense. So are you telling us today that you're acknowledging that you committed the offense?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I take full responsibility and I know my actions and what I did was very wrong. I should have never done it at all.
Okay, so, well, I have no further questions for you, Ms. Prophet. I appreciate you answering my questions. Madam Chair, so.
Okay, so Ms. Prophet, what we're doing today is making a decision about whether it's appropriate for you to finish the 2.5 years you have to serve out in the community. And we have to make that decision in light of the interests of public safety. And I would say that not only what you did was wrong, but it was reckless. So you were under the influence in possession of a loaded handgun that you admit you had no idea how to operate. And you were waving the gun in the middle of the street as cars were driving by. And then you made the decision to point the gun at the victim and his child. And it's all on video because they made a video from the front porch of the incident. And I'm struggling with your assertion that you were concerned for your own safety because you got out of the vehicle with the gun, approached the front door, continued to pull the slide back, and once at the front door, you broke the glass of the front door with your gun, then you went back to your vehicle. So, if you were afraid for your own safety, I'm trying to understand why you are the aggressor in this situation. And, obviously, you had some intent because as you admitted to us today, the gun, you said it didn't go off. So you must have been pulling the trigger in some fashion. You were obviously jamming it with the slide that you were misusing it with a firearm. So my concern is that you had a protective order against you, you violated it, you were under the influence, you were in possession illegally of a loaded firearm that you were willing to point at other human beings. You have a standing criminal protective order against you until the year 2099. And now when you're back out in the community, you have 5 years on the state's deadly weapon offender registry. You also have 3.5 years of this sentence hanging over your head when you go out to probation. You violate probation and you could be brought back and made to serve that time. So I understand you've been halfway house approved by DOC.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay. I have nothing else. Mr. Sisowskis.
Thank you very much. I just have one quick question. Have you taken an addiction services program? I see you did some other stuff.
Yes. So when I spoke to the man that runs the addiction services group, he told me that he doesn't feel that I need it.
Okay. All right, that was my only question. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so if you'll give us just a minute, please don't interrupt. Ms. Chance, where are you with Ms. Prophet?
So, you know, I have some concerns about this prophet because she had a protective order against her. It's obvious she did not pay attention to what the judge's orders were in terms of the protective order and thought she could.
And can I add to that, she's incarcerated and she's violating the rules regarding the phone in order to use somebody else's pen to contact the victim.
Right. And, you know, in addition to that, she was under the influence of alcohol with a loaded gun. She said she didn't fire it, but based on the description, she did make attempts to fiddle with it, but wasn't able to get it off. And then going out and waving it out there in front of the victim and his child.
Very bad choices.
That is extremely serious. And, you know, she's saying that she completed the beyond violence and the anger management and didn't feel, you know, she minimized her use of alcohol, which was concerning for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then we also have in other documents that she uses alcohol to self-medicate, which is obviously indicative of somebody with a problem.
Right.
And you, sir?
Yeah, I'm also concerned. I'm also concerned the fact that she hasn't addressed this. All appears to be somewhat related to alcohol, and it hasn't been any, any program to address that issue.
Well, and it is on her OAP, so I'm not sure why she wouldn't have been assessed as.
So that's in addition to everything. Yeah, in addition to everything that you guys have said, that just to me that adds to this for me. So I'm in denial today.
Okay. I have nature and circumstance, inadequate program participation, and evidence of offender change. So in the matter of Eeliyah Prophet, inmate number 444741, there's a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstances of your offenses, inadequate program participation, and evidence of offender change. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Ms. Prophet, you'll go out to probation, perhaps halfway house through DOC. We wish you much success.
This concludes the hearing for Eeliyah Prophet, inmate number 444741.
You know, and I think the way that the parole board handled this, it was artful. It was well done. And it's like sometimes the Connecticut parole board, they really do a good job at it. And other times, you know what it does to me. It leaves me kind of, pulling a Mandoo, just yelling off my chair. And even the Iowa parole board can learn how to do things. If this was an Iowa parole hearing, they would have said, wow, yeah, that was a great hearing. That was a really great hearing. Hey, you should just get paroled. No restrictions at all. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. If you haven't seen Iowa parole hearings, go check out the playlist. They are that nutty. You will see a parole hearing where someone does, lies and takes no accountability, etc. And then they'll just all in unison say, that was a great hearing. So I wish I could have shown with you like the video camera footage or something like that. There's nothing on this case. Sir Richard has, her record, which is quite substantial. You have in 2019, you have the assault third, failure to appear, 7/17/2023. That was this one, which was carrying a pistol without a permit, which in and itself in Connecticut is a 5-year minimum charge. So it's always interesting that I guess the judges have leeway to give even shorter sentences than the legislative minimum. Here it says sentence of 3 years jail, executed, suspended after 15 months, probation 5 years. She has a risk of injury to the child, and then the violation of a protective order. Can you for 1 second imagine if this was a man? Would they have treated it any differently if it was a man that had pulled a gun on his girlfriend and her child? We don't know how old the child was, but I'm just saying, who had a protection order over, and then, yeah, whatever, here, just, don't worry. But the truth is, we have seen men with long records that have done things like this and have received similar sentences. So I don't really have much of a leg to stand on, but I'm just saying just think about that. And she takes no accountability. She knows that they have camera footage of it. She's very well aware of that. But she just assumed that the parole board would not. And her strategy was, let me show up, let me put a smile on, and maybe they just won't know. Her story was, I was in fear for my life. So I took his gun, and he had a gun, and then I pulled it out, and the story makes no sense. It's like, lady, if you're in fear for your life and you think he's gonna kill you, it's okay to point the gun at him. But like, she's trying to have it both ways. She's like, I was in fear for my life, but I shouldn't have pointed the gun at him, and I was waving it, and I shouldn't have. And then it's like, why would he even point the gun at his child, though? That's a whole different point. And she's apparently waving in the street, and there's a scene, and people have it on camera, and she even went to the house and broke. And it's like, and it sounds like she actually did try to shoot, and she didn't know how to operate the gun. And what was the word? What was the word that it was? It was Turner. Turner is the one I think that always brings up, you don't know how to use a gun. And she's gotta be carrying a pistol. And Zaizuskis, how do I pronounce his name? He's actually was former police for most of his life. So, but what were the words that she used? It was also Miss Chance. You were in possession of the gun. You had no idea how to operate it. Oh, she said jamming it with the slide. So I'm trying to envision this. Jamming it with the slide. What does it? So you're pulling the slide back to load it with the bullet, and I don't know what she means by jamming it with the slide. She wasn't strong enough to maybe to put a bullet in the chamber, or there could have been it was a gun with a safety that she didn't take off. Who knows what the exact reason was, but thankfully she did not know how to use the weapon. And oh, it's just so scary. How can someone get to that point? How can someone get to that point that they would do something so insane? But there you have it. And with that, I'll let you go.
Yes.
Let me remind you that we have the police reports for this incident. So we've
Yes.
read the details. So
Yes,
you
I
need to be
understand.
accurate and
I am.
forthcoming in the
I
hearing.
am, ma'am. I am. What happens in the situation, we were